Hey there, it's Tom Ryan, founder and CEO of ICR. Before we get into the next episode, I wanted to ask that you subscribe to the show. It'll help us get even more unique and interesting guests on the podcast and in turn continue to educate management teams and the growing ecosystem that creates value for fast-growing private and public companies. And while you're at it, head over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star rating. Very much appreciated.
Having not been in the business world, I maybe assume that's just kind of how all businesses work, that when things go well, everybody benefits. That's not quite the case in private equity.
Private equity can sometimes feel like a one-sided game, but some firms, they're proving that it's far better and more impactful as a team sport.
10% of our carried interest or the general partner's carried interest is going to the employees. And so it's just creating a culture where, hey, everybody is appreciated, everybody gets to benefit from the success of this company. I like being a part of a company that is changing business for the better.
Being a public company can be hard. Small missteps can have outsized consequences. I'm Tom Ryan, founder and CEO of ICR, and over the last 20 years, we've helped thousands of companies understand and navigate the stock market and the media. We'll demystify these and other increasingly complex stakeholder groups so you can focus on what you do best, building your company and unlocking your true potential. This is Welcome to the Arena. A company culture where you win together or lose together as a team gives everyone an incentive to perform at their best. It also creates supportive environments where risk-taking is encouraged, and that opens the door to new opportunity. Trust me, in private equity, a lot of time, smarts, and money goes into every investment decision. But there's one factor that's traditionally gotten less attention: human capital. The people, the team, the strategy. That's changing, and aligning incentives up and down the line is a differentiator in what's become a very competitive marketplace. Today, I'm super excited to welcome Eli Manning and Drew Sheinman, both partners at Brand Velocity Group. My hunch is one is a little bit better at football than the other. In any event, BVG is a PE firm and a business accelerator that has a unique investment approach, partnering with the companies that they deal with and bringing operational expertise to the table. They also bring big-time marketing muscle and a do-the-right-thing approach to human capital. Before joining BVG as a founding partner, Drew's career spanned time with William Morris Endeavor, Coca-Cola, Madison Square Garden, the Baltimore Orioles, the New York Mets, and the Breeders' Cup, among other stops. He's also made some significant industry contributions, including developing new financial models for commercial real estate and athletes becoming business owners. As you all know, Eli Manning is a 2-time Super Bowl winning NFL quarterback and 2-time Super Bowl MVP who has turned his attention to private equity and brings along a firsthand, not in a textbook, understanding of how you promote and market brands. I spoke with Eli and Drew about the ways BVG differentiates itself from other firms and why it felt like the right fit for Eli as he was considering his next move after retiring from the NFL. Let's enter the arena with Eli Manning and Drew Sheinman. Why don't you describe to people like what you guys are doing and how you approach it differently?
Yeah, Tom, it's a very differentiated approach in multiple ways. One is we really embrace core values and culture across the companies that we acquire and really have a great sense of purpose in trying to make the world a better place and doing that through good, smart, thoughtful capitalism. We also bring the branding and marketing and a very high level of business development expertise to the table with my background, Eli's background, and our other partners' backgrounds as well. So when we buy a company, we like to think that capital is a commodity and there's plenty of capital out there, but all the other areas of opportunity and impact really make a difference. And also really caring about the founders of the companies that we buy and their families and their legacy has really resonated with those people who want to protect their interests of the employees, the people that really make the company successful.
There's so much money sloshing around every private equity firm, and we've had a few on the show here. They're They're great, but a dollar isn't always a dollar when you're the founder of a company taking somebody's capital. And, as a founder, you take that really seriously and you want somebody who's going to come in and roll their sleeves up versus growing a business on a spreadsheet. So, Eli, you, I'm sure, had a ton of business options after retiring from the NFL. How did you meet Brand Velocity Group and what led you to formally joining them?
It started off through an investment to a company called BBQ Guys that our whole family invested in. They're based out of Louisiana, and the Brand Velocity Group, through Drew and my kind of connections through my agent, knew each other and thought that we would possibly make good investors just because we believe in some of the same values that they were trying to get across with BBQ Guys and outdoor living, family, and those types of things. We eventually invested in that, but also down the road became ambassadors for BBQ Guys. And so that was kind of the introduction where I met Drew and the other partners. And during that time, I was newly retired, wanted to get into the business world on Brand Velocity Group, just felt very comfortable how they were doing things, their core values, how they cared about the people, they cared about the culture of these companies they were buying. And so I asked if I could sit in on some of these meetings they were having about BBQ Guys or any other companies they were looking at, just to learn, and felt very comfortable asking a lot of questions that were very underneath them, and they didn't discourage it or get annoyed that they had some rookie coming in here asking a bunch of questions. But I know that's the only way for me to learn, and just kind of grew from there and ended up sitting on other calls. And I think we felt that we could be a strong team together. And so again, just love what they were doing and learned quickly that they were doing things differently. And so it's been a great learning experience for me.
When you look at the website for BVG, there's a graphic on there with really your network in sports and sports leagues and athletes and entertainers. Eli, you probably bring a network of your own to the table. What have you learned about the network at BVG and what they're able to accomplish when they're formulating a marketing plan for like a portfolio manager?
I think just their experience in the marketing world, and that's the idea. Obviously, they're looking at companies that have already been successful, have a marketplace that would be a great company to invest in and to buy, but with their marketing background, just a way for them to really accelerate that company, to make it work better, to grow faster. And so that's the idea. And obviously played football, but also did a lot of marketing and endorsed a lot of companies. So I understand that side of the business a little bit, but getting more advanced and learning more. And so, I think it's just the idea that if this company, we care about everybody involved, and they have a program called Share the Gains, 10% of our carried interest, or the general partner's carried interest, is going to the employees. And so it's just creating a culture where, hey, everybody is appreciated, everybody is involved, and everybody gets to benefit from the success of this company, which resonates with me. And having not been in the business world, I maybe assume that's just kind of how all businesses work, that when things go well, everybody benefits. That's not quite the case in private equity. I like being part of a company that is changing business for the better.
So much private equity is about investing and then cutting costs. When you're doing that on a spreadsheet, it's not a human being. You're just kind of managing an expense line item. And the reality is what makes a valuable company is everybody buying in, like a sports team. On the website, you've got 25 people who you have called accelerators. They're affiliated with BVG, and they can help either operationally with marketing or just kind of their connections. Maybe talk about some of the names on that list, Drew, and who you guys have been able to align with.
We often like to say we're on a mission to change the world and bring capitalism and purpose together. And the people that we've organized as our accelerators are a very prolific group. It'd be very hard to call out one or two of them, but I'll just say one's the former chairman of Mitsubishi Motor Company. One is the current chief culture officer of Walmart. One was the former CMO of Uber. So across the board of very successful people. The most important part is they really support our effort and our mission, and they're all very purpose-driven. And they also got a very good sense of confidence that BVG has great momentum, but really requires all these people as brand ambassadors to change the world. Changing the world is a big statement, but when you're mission-driven, it requires a lot of support and commitment and conviction from a whole host of various people. And I think Eli would agree. We had our first town hall meeting with them sometime last year. And to a person, they all called out why they decided to join BVG. There's an economic opportunity down the road, but that's not the primary reason for them being involved. We also, beyond the support on the mission level, we also bring them on board and tap their expertise in certain areas as we're looking at new companies to acquire, or even with our existing portfolio companies. And then certainly their ability to help us source deals with their reputations and their experience. And to your point earlier, Tom, about the network, it just gives us a great opportunity at a very high multiple of individuals who are really committed, believe in the purpose of BVG, and really are very authentic to who we are and what we're trying to accomplish.
Of those 25 people, one of them that really stuck out to me was Cooper Manning. I wanted to ask Eli, if listed as an accelerator, do you agree with that characterization of his skill set?
That is a tough question. I thought that we had a contract. I thought we had a deal. You weren't going to ask me any tough questions on
Right.
this, Tom. But Coop, as much advice as I've asked of Peyton and my dad about football over the years and dealing with media or different things that come on in sports, Coop has been my resource for the business world, and he's been in it a long time in different aspects, and just always a great resource for me. He was part of BBQ Guys as ambassador of BBQ Guys, and they asked him obviously to be an accelerator, and that was before I was a partner. I might have vetoed that ask, but it was before I had any power.
Yeah. Well, listen, Cooper, along with you and Peyton, obviously, are doing all kinds of stuff, high visible things. And I know he's got another career in real estate, so we'll give him a shout out at AJ Capital. But I was more kidding than anything. When you guys are behind a brand, it's super impressive, and people know you've certainly kicked the tires in advance, and it's good people that you're dealing with. I wanted to go back to share the gains, which, Eli, you pointed out rightfully is super unique. Like, incentivizing everybody up and down the organization is so cool. Drew, I thought one of the things that was interesting on your website is that the Share the Gains program doesn't detract from the returns of your limited partners, right?
So as Eli mentioned, Share the Gains, the carried interest comes from the general partners, not the limited partners to date. And I say to date because we've had actually one of our limited partners ask to match our contribution. And we think that there's an opportunity going forward to have others do the same. It's very authentic to us because it wouldn't be fair at the outset to be typical of private equity and have the LPs support that. We want it to be very organic and really have them want to do it for the right reasons. So we think over time, particularly with our next acquisition, which is pending, I think there'll be a lot more interest from the LPs to support the program. We're actually presenting to Yale University next week. So Yale University is doing a case study on Brand Velocity Group, which has been in the works for 2 years. And you might imagine them accepting us to do a case study is a pretty significant accomplishment and validation. But actually, we're really excited to get in front of the students and interact with them, because we also think, for all the reasons that we're changing private equity isn't exactly number one on the career choice of places to work for. Somewhere way down below ICR, which is number one. We know that.
That's true. We know that.
But we think the students, once they understand BVG and understand what we're all about, we're really excited about creating the next generation of private equity professionals.
Well, maybe I can tag along because it's the only way the three of us are getting into the Ivy Leagues, as a speaking engagement. Let's talk about BBQ Guys, which is like the sickest website ever. Anything for your backyard to trick it out and have fun and have a party is great. They're the leading e-commerce platform dedicated to outfitting outdoor living spaces. It's not just barbecues, but it's everything related to that. How did that transaction come to you guys?
So it came to us through an introduction. Mike Hackley, the former CEO, had actually a deal to sell the company a few years back with another private equity firm, a very significant private equity firm, who changed the deal at the last minute. To Mike's credit, a man of high integrity, he actually took the company back, continued to build it and grow it to a very significant level. And when introduced to us, Steve Leibowitz actually drove down to Baton Rouge to meet with Mike. They bonded. He saw, like you saw with Steve and the rest of us, a very different approach to private equity. It was really a fascinating process. While we were doing our due diligence on the company, they were also doing their due diligence on us, checking us out and wanted to reinforce that we were the people that we say we were. And it all worked out very positively to close the deal. Mike getting a great opportunity to protect his legacy, the family of employees that he built over a number of years, and have them feel really good at the highest level of management to the lowest level of employee, to feel really good they were turning their hands over to a private equity firm that was going to do the right thing and care about them. Mike did want to leave the company. We went out and recruited an outstanding CEO, Russ Wheeler, who you had previously on your podcast, Tom. So very fortunate for us to find the ideal CEO in Russ. And then once the company was acquired, as part of the investment process, we got to the Manning family. There was a vision saying, okay, we've got this amazing company that has great potential for growth, had done very limited marketing, even with their great success. They're based in Baton Rouge. They were in the grilling outdoor living space. What better family, not an individual, what better family to bring on board, not only as investors, but ambassadors.
That's where we got brought in. When they talked about BBQ Guys, it just made so much sense, because when I think about barbecuing, it's about being outside. It's about being with family and friends. And that's just kind of reminded me of us growing up. We were always playing football, playing basketball, jumping in the pool. You might visualize it would be my dad grilling, but it was actually my mom grilling. My dad was busy throwing us passes into the pool, and he wanted to play the games. He's like a big kid. And so it was just around food and family and grilling and being in the home. And so it made sense from that perspective. And so I just started off as an investment, and then later on, led to this opportunity to be ambassadors, to do a commercial. So we were down in Louisiana, and we shot this commercial, and it was pretty genuine. And the fact that we, Peyton and I are going at each other, Coop's dancing around, my dad's just kind of sitting, relaxing, just kind of coaching from the chair of what we're doing wrong. It was a lot of fun. And then, of course, a big afternoon shower came roaring in, and we had to speed up the process a little bit, but that's what happens in Louisiana in the summer. But it was just a perfect combination of a number of things, and it's been a great company for us to invest in, to be ambassadors for, because our core values just add up. We believe in the product, we believe in the people, and believe in the group behind it. And so it's been a wonderful relationship.
It's interesting when you talk about corporate culture, because I remember, again, there's the fear factor of private equity coming in and buying a company. When we announced the Mannings coming on board, along with LaDainian Tomlinson and Steve Hutchinson and Landon Hutchinson as well, like the response from the employees was so extraordinary. You already had impact just in knowing like the right kind of people were involved in the company, and such level of credibility and integrity. It goes a long way to really get employees aligned and really embracing a new owner of the company. And those things are not insignificant.
The difference between feeling like you've been acquired and feeling like you've joined the winning team is a big one. But leveraging partnerships with popular figures like Eli and the Manning family isn't the only way BVG is standing out. They're going deep, choosing verticals like fashion and apparel, and bringing super talented and experienced operating partners on board to drive success. One example in their portfolio is Original Footwear, the largest contractual suppliers of tactical footwear to the U.S. Department of Defense, whose brand Altama has been worn in every military conflict the U.S. has had since Vietnam. I asked Drew how BVG has approached expanding the Original Footwear brand as their partner.
Part of our other great, unique point of differentiation is looking at white space opportunities around successful companies. Original Footwear is the largest manufacturer, distributor of military footwear in the world. Great, very successful company. Again, the common theme here is Kevin Cole had a chance to sell to a bigger private equity firm. He chose us largely because of our marketing differentiation and the opportunity for him to grow his company through marketing, but also about caring and purpose. And the white space opportunity there is down the road, taking that military heritage and position in the marketplace and bringing it into the consumer world. There's an expression, camo is glamo. So that's an opportunity, a great company, and we're excited for taking that company to the next level as well.
You brought in Jay Glazer, who is a sports reporter, NFL insider. People see him on Fox every week during the NFL. He's kind of come in as a spokesperson in some of the, I wouldn't even call them commercials. They're like mini interviews and documentaries, really powerful. How did you guys get to know Jay?
Yeah, our playbook really is when you're dealing with celebrities, they have to be high quality individuals and they have to be very authentic to the brand and to the purpose and the mission of what we're trying to accomplish as an owner and an impact in the community. Jay has been a great activist in the worlds of helping military veterans be successful in their career post the military. So we saw that, and we saw him as a guy who's really committed to that space and somebody who could also have impact and very, very passionate about it. And that was a great fit for that particular opportunity.
People should go on the website and check those interviews out that he's doing. Really powerful. Eli, I wanted to ask you a question. When you're not the face of the brand and doing commercials and stuff, when you look around the portfolio companies and maybe new companies that you're trying to invest in, what's your role in those cases where, you know, you probably can add some value, but maybe you don't have to be like the on-camera person?
I think that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. Like Drew said, we're close to getting a new company, and so I'm excited about kind of learning that. And I won't be the face of it, not doing any endorsing around it, but just through connections, through people to be able to hopefully grow the company. And that's what's exciting, is to kind of have some ownership in something and to be a part of something, to see how you can make it better, and not just from an endorsement side where you have really no ownership or no stake in the game. You're just kind of doing your part, that day, shoot a commercial, talk about it. When you're on the other end of it, it's, a little bit more interesting and more rewarding, I think, because you kind of know the back end of everything that's going on. So I'm excited to go through that process. And that's the thing. All this is very, very new to me. As you go through an LOI or you go through due diligence, it's all new, and just kind of figure out how I can be helpful, how I can make a difference, how I can bring more value to these companies. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And you can kind of get an idea and you can ask the questions, but I think the greatest way to learn something is to be in there, to be in the action. Just take it from a football perspective, is that you got to play the game sometimes. You can practice, you can be in the meeting room, but you got to be in the game to truly learn and to know what you really don't know and how you can get better, how you can make plays, how can you eventually be successful. And so that's what I'm looking forward to, that opportunity.
There's a need for innovation in private equity, and firms like Brand Velocity Group are leading the charge. Their unique network and connections to the sports and celebrity worlds makes them ideally positioned to make a major impact on the companies they partner with. Every industry has its own playbook, and Eli, Drew, and the rest of the team at BVG are certainly raising their game to a new level. I did have one Giants question, Eli, if you don't mind. We've got the 5th, 7th, and 36th pick. There's a few other picks in there, and the draft is later this month. What positions would you focus on with those picks if you were in charge?
As a quarterback, I just say just draft all offensive linemen. Do you need anything else?
I figured.
Just stay safe. If the quarterback has all time to throw, that someone can get open, right? Someone's got to be able to get open. If you can run the ball, then it helps everything. But no, I think obviously the offensive line has been an issue for a little bit, and so they will try to address it with one of those. But you got to find out who's on the board, who can make an impact. Sometimes you can do the receivers, you can do the flashy players that everybody gets excited about, but you need those guys on the offense and defensive line that make a bigger impact than you think. You don't always hear their name being called all the time, but they're making a big difference. And so, I think with the new management in there, and Joe Shane and Dabo, I think they'll make a great decision and get some guys who can hopefully make a fast impact on the team.
At Welcome to the Arena, we're working really hard to bring you exciting guests and great content. If you found this episode insightful, subscribe to the show on your podcast app and leave us a 5-star rating. The more the show grows, the more interesting voices we can have on the podcast, and in turn, that should demystify a lot of the stakeholders around public companies and soon-to-be public companies. Thanks for listening. I want to thank Eli and Drew for coming on the podcast today and giving us some insight into the parts of private equity that those outside the industry don't often see. It's such a differentiator to have diverse backgrounds and experiences like Drew and Eli have, which together create a really strong team with the ability to drive equity value. And of course, as a lifelong Giants fan, it's a thrill to talk a little football with a legend. This is Tom Ryan, and we'll see you next time back in the arena.
References to specific stocks are not intended to be recommendations for specific trading behavior. Comments presented on this podcast are intended for informational and educational purposes only, and do not represent opinions or recommendations on whether to buy, sell, or hold shares of a particular stock. All investors are advised to conduct their own independent research into individual stocks before making a trading decision. In addition, investors are advised that past stock performance is no guarantee of future price performance.